Good morning, YouTube. We're not going to work on the Ferrari or the Ferrari. We're going to work on the John Cooper Works Mini. Oh, Meg's Mini needs to have its rear brake pads changed out. So it turns out that even though it's got big old Brembo brakes, it's got wee little brake pads. Kind of disappointing. They don't last very long. It's only got like, I don't know, like 15,000 miles, which is pretty pathetic for brake pads. They should, in my opinion, brake pads should last like 30,000 miles, but whatever. Anyway, we're going to change them out, and we got to change out the brake pad sensor. Otherwise, the computer's going to keep bitching about the brake pads. So we're going to have to do that, and then we'll have to reset the computer. Shouldn't be very hard. Should hopefully not take very long. These Brembos, you just kind of, they're easy. So let's have at it.
Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop, won't stop. Can't stop.
Let's chalk the wheels. Alright, her car has 17 millimeter lugs, so we'll get those broken loose before we jack the car up. So the Mini has a really nice jack point, really easy to access right there. So jacking up is pretty easy. Good time to put on gloves because the wheels and brakes are always really dirty. So we're just gonna take off the lugs, get them out of there, and get the wheel off. So it turns out I lied. So the front brake pads are Brembo brakes, but the rears are regular old BMW brake pads and brakes. So it makes it a little bit trickier. You have to take off the inner caliper thingy. It'll take a little bit longer, but it's still no big deal. Definitely want to wear some gloves. So let's hose it down with some brake fluid, Let's hose it down with some brake cleaner. This is the brake sensor wire, so we'll have to disconnect that. Comes out of the, it's stuck into the brake pads right there. So we'll pop that out. We have to undo this bolt and this bolt. It pulls out kind of like the whole caliper carriage. And then you can see it's got these wee little metal clips. See? So those actually are like the springs that hold the brakes in place. So we'll have to pop all those out, compress the piston, and get the new pads in. Wow, this is a much smaller brake pad or rotor than the front. As long as we got everything off, we'll measure the caliper depth, we'll measure the rotor depth, make sure it's got enough. All right, so let's first pop off the wire so we can get it out of the way. It looks like that's actually the bleeder. It's kind of fascinating. It's got like the bleeder cover and holds the wire in place. Let's see if we can get that off with the screwdriver. Just kind of pop it off. There, got it off. Okay. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get these loose with. Oh yeah, these weren't too bad. The lower one, there. Nice. Now theoretically, this should kind of wiggle out. Oh, you know what? I gotta release the e-brake. Let's see if we can get this off. There it goes. It's kind of wiggle off. I need to release the parking brake control there, or that wire. It's getting tight. There. You don't get that much wiggle room on these. Let's pop off the sensor wire. There. Now it comes out easier. Alright, so these pads should just kind of, part of the sensor should just pop out, hopefully. There we go. Whoop. I mean, so there's actually a pretty decent amount of pad left, but whatever. We're already in there. I already got the new pads. There. And the other one, yeah, it's about the same. And we pull off these little springs. There. And there. Alright, so while we have it sitting here, let's compress the caliper if we can. I may have to use a C-clamp. Oh yeah, it's not going to compress. Alright, let's grab the C-clamp. Alright, so I've got the C-clamp sitting on the piston. I'm going to have to set the camera down, but basically I'm going to compress the piston right here. So it'll just kind of push on it, and the other side's clamped onto the back side of the brake calipers. Alright, so let's compress the piston a little. go. Yeah, this one's really tight. Okay, so the kit comes with new springs, new pads, and even comes with new bolts, which is kind of handy. So you can see, here's how much pad there was on the new pad versus the old pad. So quite a bit of difference. So hopefully I squeezed that caliper enough. I don't think I did, but let's get the new springs in, and then we'll attempt to shove in the pads, but we'll probably have to compress the caliper a little more. Yeah, come on, you. There. And I got the inner, so there's no way that that's gonna get in there as easily. So we're gonna have to squeeze the caliper some more. So when all its fills, work smarter, use a bigger lever. Just need to give it a little more force. Now that we got the piston compressed, we can put back in the brake pads, the new pads. Alright, so you can see on the sensor wire there's a flat side and kind of protruding side. You want the protruding side facing the rotor, so it goes in like that. So let's get that put through the right spot on the piston and then clip it in. There we go. There's the sensor right there, and once that sensor touches the rotor, it wears off and causes the metal to collapse and trigger a connection telling the computer that the pads are too small. Alright, let's get the piston back on. It's a little bit tricky. There. And we have new bolts, so we'll use those. Bolts aligned. Ah, come on, you. I read that the torque specs are 24 foot-pounds, so let's do that. Alright, we gotta get the old sensor wire out and the new sensor wire plugged in. I don't think we can really get to that very easily behind this thing, so let's undo that 10 millimeter right there, and hopefully that gives us a little more room to pull this out. Yeah, there we go. Nice. Now, it's kind of hard to see, but there we go. There's the sensor, and there we go. Get the old one out. Throw out the new one behind the shock absorber. Ah, come on, come on. You can do it. Let's get it plugged in. There it goes. Clipped in. Alright, all of that back in place. Just need to put on the little cover right there. Nice. And get our 10 mil back on there. Okay, so the rotor says the minimum thickness is 8.4 millimeters. So let's measure how thick the rotor is. Alright, you can see the rotor's at 9.2. So we have plenty of room to spare. So that's good. Alright, let's put the wheel back on. Actually, I'll grab one of those alignment tools. Hold on. Set it down, and we'll torque it to about 90 foot-pounds. So now you've already seen the other side get done. I'm going to do this side, and I'm just going to go right through and leave the camera running the entire time and just plow through as fast as I can. And I'm going to set my clock out so you can see how long it actually takes. It should take, I'm going to guess, more than 15 minutes. So we'll see if I can beat 15 minutes. So ran into a little snag. Turns out there is an inner and outer pad, and they're not distinguished by any sort of text or print on the thing. Nope, it's done by little dots. Let me show you. This pad is the outer pad, and this pad is the inner pad. And it turns out I put both inner pads on the other side, and so now I need to go pull one of those off and swap it out here, because, well, that's usually how things go with working on cars. It doesn't always go right. So I'm gonna do that real quick. Okay, got the pad out. Now we can resume. 21 minutes and 32 seconds. Easily could have been 15 minutes if I hadn't screwed up the other side. So all in all, if you're doing it without filming, you probably can do it certainly within an hour, probably within a half hour to 45 minutes. So pretty easy. Of course, I still have to put all my tools away and all that stuff. So let's just say an hour. Our job, pretty easy. And I think all of that cost me, I'm gonna say $130. It was pretty cheap. All right, we're in the Mini. So the first time you hit the brake, it's gonna be squishy and go to the floor there. Now it's got pressure. Let's turn on and see if the computer complains still. All right, it does. So now I do have to reset the computer. I think what you have to do is you hold down this button as you turn on the ignition without your foot on the brake. So I'm gonna do that. Obviously I can't do it holding the camera, hold on. All right, so it's gonna complain about stuff. And once it kind of gets to like the main screen, there, okay. So now it's at the main screen. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna push and hold the trip reset button. And then, there we go. It says reset possible, so I push and hold and it should say reset. So I push and hold again. Reset in progress. There we go, reset successful. Well, it's got 7,000 miles to go. Coolant's not till 2021. Inspection is 30,000 miles. Yep, we're all good now. Okay, so we probably need to go drive it real quick and make sure the brakes actually work. It seems to be braking pretty smoothly and has quite a bit of grip, so I think it's good to go. Oh yeah, brake pretty hard when we need to. Good, good, good. Well, there you have it. Changing out the brake pads on this thing is pretty easy. The rear pads are pretty easy, the front pads are pretty easy, so overall it's pretty easy. Again, those pads and the sensor were a total of like $120. I'll put a link in the description below for where I bought them. I bought them at, I think it was NCS. NCS Tuning was the name of the company. Probably need to get a sponsorship with them because this thing eats up pads like crazy. So the fronts only last like 12,000 miles and the rears are only 15,000 miles. Granted, Megan's pretty hard on the brakes, but still. We're going to go through a lot of brake pads with this car, but oh well, I guess that's what you get with high performance brakes. Alright guys, you are amazing. Thank you so much for watching. As always, I appreciate it very much. Feel free to comment below. I try my best to respond to almost every single comment. That's going to do it for today. We're going to be doing a lot of car stuff. Stay tuned. It's going to be sweet.